Hello, hello, hello friends. Thank you for joining us for today's vegan cooking class. Today I am bringing you some vegan scalloped potatoes by Nora Cooks. I used a lot of her recipes and all of them so far that I've used have been very delicious. This one is no exception. I'll probably be doing some steamed cabbage, some roasted squash, and some vegan cornbread as well. Go ahead and preheat your oven to 400 degrees and then let's get started. All right, so the first thing I want to do is take 3/4 cup of raw cashews and soak them in hot water while I'm getting the rest of my ingredients together. When you look at her recipe, you'll see that it is double the amount of what I'm using today. I'm using a smaller pan just because it's me and my husband, and there's no point in making a huge 9x13 pan of this for 2 people. So I have cut the recipe in half. So just make note of that when you look at her recipe. I will be putting the link here that it is double the amount of what I'm using, okay? So I'm taking 3/4 cup of raw cashews. I'm gonna go ahead and pour some hot water and let those soak while I'm getting the rest of my ingredients together. All right, so next I'm gonna go ahead and slice up my potatoes. I'm using 4 to 5 potatoes here for my smaller pan. Her recipe says use 4 pounds of Yukon Gold potatoes. So I'm doing about half of that. So I have 5 small ones here. And I'm gonna use my mandolin slicer, and I have that set on 3. I believe I got this from Bed Bath & Beyond. I'm not sure. Trying to read the brand name on that, but it's so small and I am blind, so I can't read the brand name on it. But you can probably find these at Walmart or somewhere like that, Amazon. But just make sure that you're slicing all of your potatoes the same thickness, because that will ensure when you test one potato, and if it's done, then all of them are done because they're the same size. Okay, go ahead and slice those up. Be careful, you don't want to cut your finger like I just almost did. There's a little attachment here that you can use when you get it down so far. But I'm hard-headed and I don't use it. Just be careful, people. All right, all of my potatoes are thinly sliced, and next I am going to saute some onions and some mushrooms. You'll see in her recipe she only calls for white onion, but I'm also doing green onion and some baby bell mushrooms just because I like to take a recipe and make it better. Okay, in my skillet I have a little bit of olive oil, extra virgin. I usually use Bertolli. But you can use any brand that you would like to use. And then I have about 1½ cups of baby bell mushrooms here, and then a half of a large white onion sliced. And then I have 3 green onions here, just the stalks of green onions. I just do 3 of those. On medium heat, I'm gonna go ahead and saute these for about 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes. Oh, I forgot to put my garlic in. I'm going to put 2 cloves of garlic in there as well. Alright, so you just want to saute them until the onions begin to get translucent and soft. These will cook the rest of the way with the scalloped potatoes in the oven, so I don't want to get them too done. Okay, now we're going to make that delicious creamy sauce that we're going to pour over our potatoes and the onions and the mushrooms, and then pop it into the oven. So the cashews in the beginning, I have drained those. I'm going to go ahead and add to the blender. And then I'm adding 1/4 cup of nutritional yeast. And I do use the Bragg brand. And then I like to use this creamy vegan protein broth just because of the creaminess of it. I'm going to put in 1 cup of that. And then I'm also using 1 cup of unsweetened almond milk. Her recipe says she uses coconut milk, but I prefer almond milk. You might be able to use oat milk or cashew milk, any kind of unsweetened non-dairy milk. And this gets a little noisy, so I'm going to turn the camera off while I blend all of this up, okay? All right, now it's time to layer all of the components and then pop it in the oven. In my pan here, I have lightly sprayed it with Pam. You can also brush it with olive oil, vegan butter, anything like that. Let's go ahead and do 1 layer of your potatoes. On top of that, I'm going to add half of my mixture here. The onions, white onions, green onions, and the baby Bella mushrooms. Just spread that across. Put a little bit of chives there, fresh chives that I've chopped up. A little bit of salt and pepper, or whatever other seasoning you would like to use. Got some sea salt here and some black pepper. It's not coming out. Where is the hole? Barely coming out. And then I'm going to pour some of that sauce over that we made, just all over the top. And now I'll add another layer and then pop it in the oven. Okay, I've added my second layer. I'm going to put just a little bit more chives across the top. The recipe does say that you need to add the chives after you've baked it all, but I like to bake the chives with everything. You can do it either way you would like, okay? And then just for a little bit of color, I do sprinkle some smoked paprika on top. Just all across the top there. And put this in the oven for about 60 minutes. You can test the potatoes with a fork or a knife to see if they are done, if they are tender, okay? Next, I'm going to work on the squash. I have 2 medium squash here. One I've already cut into chunks. You can cut into chunks or circles, whichever you prefer. It's your kitchen. Do what you like. I'm just cutting them into some bite-sized chunks today. Put them on this pan that I have lightly sprayed with Pam cooking spray. I'm going to drizzle a little olive oil. A little bit of smoked paprika. Tiny amount of sea salt. A little bit of black pepper. And really you can use whatever spices you want to use, okay? Does not matter. And I love this roasted garlic and herb grill mates by McCormick. It's so good on all of my roasted vegetables. Sprinkle some of that. And then also a little bit of parsley. And just give it a little toss so everything is coated well. And then we have olive oil on each piece. And then I'm going to pop this in the oven for about 15-20 minutes on 400. I'm going to go ahead and put them in with my potatoes since it's already going at 400. I'll put my squash in there and let it go for 15-20 minutes or until tender, okay? All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started on my cabbage. I have some olive oil heating in my pan here. To that, I'm going to add half of a medium green pepper, half of a medium red pepper, bell pepper, and then half of a large white onion. Go ahead and add that to your skillet. Also putting in 3 cloves of garlic. Saute all of that together for about 2 to 5 minutes. All right, now I'm going to add in the cabbage I washed, and I cut up a small cabbage. Go ahead and add that to the skillet. And I'm going to shake in some seasonings. All of these seasonings are according to your taste. I don't have any real measurements here. I'm going to put some sea salt. Black pepper. A little bit of onion powder. A little bit of garlic powder. A little bit of smoked paprika. And also shake in some parsley. And then I like to use this Sylvia's Great Greens seasoning. And I put about that one kind of caked up on me. Put about half of a capful there. And I'm going to put just a little bit of water here. You don't need much because cabbage will make its own water. There's probably about 1/4 of a cup of water there. And then just gently stir. Try to get all my seasonings incorporated there. And by the way, my potatoes and my squash, they're both done. So I've dropped my oven down to 350 because we'll be working on the cornbread next. I'm going to go ahead and put my top on this and let it cook for about 3 to 5 minutes. And then stir it again and let it cook for another 5 to 10 minutes or until it's to my desired tenderness. Some people like their cabbage a little crunchy. Some people like it more soft. So just cook it until it gets to your desired tenderness, okay? With the top on. All right, so I'm going to start on my vegan cornbread. And for the vegan cornbread, I have found that it holds together better if I do them in muffin tins rather than a cast iron skillet. So I'm going to go ahead and take some vegetable oil. And I'm going to fill up 1 cavity and then pop this in a 350-degree oven for about 5 minutes. And what I'm doing is heating up the oil, okay? All right, so I'm going to pop that in the oven while I get the rest of my ingredients together. And the next thing I'm going to do is make 2 flax eggs. If you remember from previous videos, flax eggs are your binders. So since I'm not using a real egg for binding, I'm going to do flax eggs. And to make 1 flax egg, you take 1 tablespoon of ground flaxseed and you mix it with 2½ tablespoons of water. So I'm going to do 2 flax eggs, and so I'm going to do 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed with 5 tablespoons of water. That's 1. 2. Mix it with 5 tablespoons of water. Give it a little stir. And then set it aside. Next, I'm going to do 2 cups of self-rising yellow cornmeal. And then I have some white cornmeal that I already have in my container here. It's also self-rising. I'm going to do 1 cup of that. I just like the combination of the white and the yellow. I've played around with this so many times that I've just come up with something that I think really tastes good. And so that is why I mix the white and the yellow together. So 2 cups of the yellow, 1 cup of white. And I'm also going to put in 1/2 cup of this vegan dressing and spread. For non-vegan cornbread, I always put a little bit of mayo in it, regular mayo, just to give it that extra moistness. And so I also do that with my vegan cornbread. So I'm going to put in 1/2 cup. And then I'm going to go ahead and pour in 1.5 cups of almond milk. And then I am going to go ahead and pour in the flax egg, or the 2 flax eggs. I used 2. And just for a little bit of sweetness, I am going to add in 1/4 cup of sugar. You can leave this out. You don't have to put the sugar in unless you want to. And just whisk all of that up until you get a nice thick batter. I'm going to go ahead and add another 1/2 cup of almond milk. So if you're taking notes, that's going to be 2 cups of almond milk, okay? And I'm doing that just because it's a little thicker than I would like. All right, there we go. That's the consistency that I'm looking for. I'm going to give that oil in the oven another couple minutes, and then I'm going to take it and pour it over into this batter. All right, I've let my oil heat up. I'm going to go ahead and pour that into the batter. I love that sizzle. That's the best part. All right, and then gently stir this. Don't splash oil all over yourself. Don't need any emergency room visits. Just gently stir it to get it well combined. All right, and that's the thickness and consistency that I'm looking for. All right, I'm going to spray each one of these cavities with a little bit of Pam. You can do Baker's Joy, Pam baking spray, whatever. Just don't want my muffins to stick. And then you're going to fill each cavity nearly to the top. You should already have your oven preheating to 350. That's what we're going to bake these on for about 20 to 25 minutes. I have noticed with a lot of my vegan baked goods, it doesn't get very dark. But you just want to make sure it's done all the way in the center. You can test it with a toothpick. Insert it in the center. When it comes out clean, you know it's done. If it's still gooey, needs a little bit more time in the oven. All right, I'm going to pop this in the oven for about 20-25 minutes and we'll be back. All right, just pulled the vegan cornbread out of the oven and I'm going to brush it with a little bit of vegan butter. Just brush your tops there. And I use the Mayoko's unsalted vegan butter. And here's my complete meal. So I have my roasted squash, and I have my sauteed cabbage. I have my vegan scalloped potatoes, and I did cut into that just a little bit so you can see what it looks like. There you go. And then, of course, my vegan cornbread. I do hope you all enjoyed this vegan cooking class. If you did like it, give it a thumbs up. Also share and try the recipes and let me know what you think, okay? Bon appetit!